Hey guys, Anthony here. It's Saturday, May 14th, 2016, and I got this article from the SHTF school, and every so often I'll post some videos on articles I receive from the school, and this one was pretty interesting as it pertains to plans without preps, and it is a question asked by a reader of the site. And he basically says, I read your post for years. I do not find myself a survivalist all the time. I've read it because what you wrote about war times and similar. My question is simple. Can you give a couple of simple advices what to do in case of an SHTF without going into prep for years, or building your group for years, or stockpiling ammo? Advice is, what if SHTF tomorrow and I do not have anything like that? And he goes on to say here in the answer, at first it looks like a simple question, something that any of us who are into prepping should answer easily. But again, we are talking about a man who is not prepping at all. And this is going to pertain to many of the people that we know and interact with on a daily basis, because most people are not prepping. So he says what to do, and he says whole books can be written about this answer, but let's try to be short and stick to the basics. So first question, what is going on? You see that something is happening outside, something big. Let's say you notice that there is an emergency broadcast on TV, and you see a huge number of law enforcement outside and others that you know, but you know nothing more. Now, at this moment, you need to make some important decisions, and you'll have to make it based on what you know. So clearly, the more information you can get, the better you can make decisions. Two important points here that you need to understand are: one, no matter what is the real reason for the particular SHTF event, there is common elements of every SHTF event, no matter if it's terrorist dirty bomb attack, solar EMP, or Romulans attacking with spaceships. Panic, disorder, rumors, looting, chaos. So just do not expect to collect all the info you want in that moment. Do not wait to find out what is really happening. Or let's say, do not wait to find out why things SHIT are happening. At this moment, forget the why and act. Number two, collect info based on your small circle of options. That means continuing from point A, that you do not need most probably to find out why there is looting in street next to you, why there is a police force in big number, why there is no signal on TV, and why there is big black smoke visible from your office a few kilometers away in the city. What you need to know is how to avoid and what to take. How to avoid a looting mob, what kind of force police is using there, and a way to travel to avoid that big black smoke. Do not get me wrong. To know why things are happening is great, but to wait too long to find out is usually bad, and it is often way better to solve things in small steps. So what actually to do? We go back to basics again, he says. Simply try to stay away from the trouble. We said that you are not a prepper, and you are in the city. Assess your situation and act. Your luck probably in that moment is that people will probably look more how to deal or steal LCD TVs, laptops, than things for shelter or defense. Get yourself organized into simple categories. We typically have 7 survival priorities. So he's basically saying in the beginnings of this SHTF, while the looters are not going to be really thinking on, survival type supplies and just taking advantage of the situation, focus your attention on these 7 steps, these 7 priorities: fire, shelter, water, food, communication, medical, and defense. Try to cover each priority as much as you can. Again, do not spend too much time in covering each one at the expense of finding yourself in a worse situation. As you are not a prepper, you might find yourself in the middle of a working day in an office when the SHT happened. Look around yourself and see what you can use to cover each of those priorities. For fire, you can have only a lighter maybe, and for now, you have the priority covered. For water, you're going to put several bottles of water in your bag. For shelter, you're going to steal a few more jackets or emergency blanket or trash bags. For food, you're going to take energy bars from the vending machine. For communications, you're going to take a cell phone with you and hope there is still a signal network. For medical, you're going to borrow the first aid kit from the hallway in your office building. And for defense, you will take a couple of knives from the kitchen or simply smash some chair and take a chair leg as an improvised baton. So all the priorities are covered. Yes, it looks poor, but you covered sections with what you got. Improvising and adapting is key here. And I think that's important because this is, this person or in this situation, you may only have, a very short period of time to act and to get your act together. And if you're not a prepper and you have these, and you were able to cover at least those 7 steps or those 7 priorities: fire, shelter, water, food, communication, medical, and defense, even in that rudimentary manner, you're still way ahead of the game in case this is a prolonged SHTF. So he goes on to say here, bug out or bug in. Simply go away from the trouble. That's it. So at this point, he's just telling us, get away from the trouble area. We are talking about the city here. So huge possibilities that you're going to go outside of the city. More people means more problems. But first thing to keep in mind is not to run from the city. It is to escape from the trouble. Think in small circles and steps. Rory Miller says it nicely. Don't run away from danger. Run towards safety. So he's not saying just bolt out of the city haphazardly, but find out or try to find out where the trouble is and, run away from that first, and then you could assess and make a plan later. If that means that you need to hunker down in the office building or in a rolled over school bus or wherever in the middle of the city for 2 days in order to safely leave the city, then you're going to do that. So in this situation, it may be that you're already in a safe building, a school, a hardened structure where it may be safe just to hunker down in there and stay in there until, you could assess and find your way back home. First and immediate task is to stay out and avoid trouble in your goal to leave the city. So you don't want confrontation. That's what you don't want. Maybe you're going to have to spend a week hiding somewhere in the city waiting for the right moment to leave. You do not know. The point is to avoid trouble and adapt your plans accordingly to that. Rules. Best advice for you is anticipate that there are simply no rules, but some common things for every situation or so. Stick to your plan up until the moment when it is more dangerous to follow the plan. Then improvise, adapt, and modify your plan. Be ready that your plan can fall apart right at the beginning. Example, if you plan to leave the city through several pre-planned points and streets and there is danger on the way, you might choose to bend your plan and use a longer way instead, and go around the danger. Violence. Avoid violence. Simply like that. Violence means a chance to get yourself killed or injured. Killed means your survival story is ended, and injured means much more trouble than in normal times. Remember, a small cut can kill you in SHTF world, and that's certainly true. I just experienced that on a recent camping trip with the RV last week, where I got stung by some kind of spider or poisonous bug, and my hand swelled up like a boxing glove. And I've been on antibiotics for a week now. Something like that without treatment can cause you a lot of trouble in a SHTF. Violence, again, when there is no other way than to use violence, you have to use it in a quick and effective way without hesitation and without rules. You'll think about it. You'll think about what you did later if you have to. Things are probably or might not be not the way they look like. Police might not be police. Law is not law anymore. Stealing is not stealing. Honor is not honor. Survival changes things. So, your whole world might be turned upside down in this type of scenario. Prioritize things, he says. Systemic collapse, especially first period of it, means a lot of chaos. That means a lot of distractions in your planned action. Always have in your mind what is your priority in the given moment. Getting from point A to point B might look easy today, but when SHTF, you may find events, problems, and obstacles on that way that can fill one lifetime of average peaceful citizen. Do not find yourself pulled in situations like, say, going to the destroyed pharmacy may seem like a good chance to fill your medical kit, but it's also a good chance you're going to meet a couple of high junkies inside who will stab you. Choose wisely what distraction you will take as a good chance. Conclusion. As you can conclude, for the non-prepper, advice would be to develop some plan and act. Also, that does not mean that plan is to run like an idiot and get yourself killed. Sometimes what you need is just the will to survive, and based on that, you will adapt and build your plan. Have you ever had to deal with a serious situation with no time to prepare for it? Please share your stories and lessons learned in the comments below. And I'll post this link, and there's a bunch of comments below that you can read. But I thought this article was a good one to get out there, not only for those that that are not prepping, that may be watching some prepping videos just to see what prepping's about, but us that are prepping to look back on what we are doing. Say, for instance, many of us spend most of our time at work during the day or at night if you work on a second or third shift. Do you or do we have the proper tools at work to be able to hunker down and or flee from there, possibly on foot if we have to, and you may not be able to use your vehicle? Do we have the proper tools? And this could be just a small backpack full of gear, full of some gear that covers those 7, survival categories. So my task this week for me, and hopefully for you guys watching this video, is to go back and assess what you've put aside in your office or at your school where you work or the building where you work, or wherever you work, and see if those priorities are covered. Even, you don't have to get fancy, but see if they're covered. And then what we'll do is I'll follow up with a video showing a small cache, if you will, of what I would keep, say, in my office. And there's different rules and regulations on where we work, so you got to follow the rules, of course. I'm not telling anyone to break the law, but we'll go over some basic stuff and things that can be used for survival if need be. And then also the thought of, hey, can I, if I had to, stay at my job for a day, 3 days, or a week if I couldn't leave in an SHTF situation? I couldn't make it home or couldn't make it to my family. What would the ramifications be? And then what would I need to be able to stay there for a week? And then work towards that goal. In my situation, I have access to a couple of lockers that I could keep some gear in, and I can keep some dehydrated food in and canned goods. And I'm going to reassess that and revisit that again, because I did have it stocked at one point, and I just rotated some stuff out. We'll go over a video on what to stock and prepare for that. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts and questions on this. But for the non-prepper, and if you're watching this, it is a priority that you at least put some basic stuff aside and have it handy. Okay? Anthony signing off. Stay ready. Have a great weekend.